Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Inside Track. Today we're going to talk about interest rates, Iran, oil, and inflation. As one of Salt Lake City's top mortgage brokers, I'm getting peppered with questions about interest rates, the war, all the good stuff, right? So let's break it down and how it affects you. Love this. What a long, strange trip it's been. A little shout out to the Grateful Dead. Uh, Most of you know I'm a nerdy economist, and as such, I follow things like the 10-year Treasury, which a lot of people know about. There's no myth or magic to that, but what that is that that's money that you borrow from the government or the government loans out. It's basically risk-free, right? 10 years, this is what we're going to pay on a 10-year IOU. It's a benchmark for the industry. It's a benchmark for the world, really. So what's been going on with this has been very, very interesting. At the beginning of the year, we were about 4.16%. We hit this great little low, finally dipped down, just right at the end of February. March 2nd was the Monday after the war started, and we're trying to figure out, is this going to be a quick thing like Venezuela, or is this, what does this look like, right? And then all of a sudden we know, since then things went rocketing up. So over the course of 25 days, that went from 3.92 to 4.5. And again, this is the 10-year note. It settled back down to about 4.3. And that's, again, the 10-year yield is the global benchmark for interest rates. It's what basically is a risk-free type instrument. So mortgages typically sit a couple percentage points above this rate. And that's why we keep an eye on it. So speaking of that, here's what happened to 30-year interest rates. Back in February, really this was kind of announced, Friday, the 28th of February, when the news media came out and said, hey, great news, for the first time, interest rates are below 6%. Yay, right? And then the war broke out, right? So the next week, that first week, we're trying to kind of figure out, hey, is this going to be quick? Is this going to be long? Things just kind of were flat, and then boom, like a rocket ship, every week, 6 1/8, 6 1/4, 6 3/8, 6 1/2. Finally seeing things settle down a little bit. Let's hope it holds. Next up, what I have for you is a little perspective, right? So this is where rates have been, interest rates over the last 50 years, since the 70s. This is kind of a mind bender because back in 81, when we had really high inflation, rates hit as high as 16.64. And then the COVID days, we dipped down to just below 3%. We all know what happened with that. So with a little context here, in the 70s, rates went really high because of rising inflation. Okay, that was the Carter administration before Reagan took over and things kind of settled down. In the 80s, at the time of Reagan, we had still reached a pretty good peak. But again, things started to kind of settle down between the 10, coming down from the double digit range. It was really the 90s that things kind of settled into the single digits, and into the 2000s where the norm switched to the kind of the 6% range for much of that decade. And then what's happened recently in the 2010s, I think people forget 2010s, 2020s was, we had the big crash in 2008 when we had the real estate crash. And that's what kind of led to things being abnormally lower here. Below sixes, we went back down into the kind of the fives and the four range. And then, of course, COVID. And so COVID, we had that all-time low of 2.625 in 2021. And then we saw the biggest increase ever as far as speed-wise. Interest rates doubled, right? But I'm going to finish up with this last chart here that kind of shows the historical average. So going back to the 70s when things were super high, the average has been kind of mid sevens. And we were there as recently as just last year when we hit 7%. And now we've kind of back off that number. So what does all this mean? I think the magic number is 5. Again, when the first part is a 5 point whatever, that's when it's really good. We're kind of there, but we're kind of not. We're still in the low sixes. I think we're going to get there. But the net of it is, keep an eye on this right here. It's oil. It's all about oil. When oil's high, that creates inflation. When there's inflation, interest rates are higher, mortgages are higher. When this settles down, you'll see things settle back down again. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Give me a call if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time. Take care.